Okie dokie, I just wanted to show you my grow laboratory for my mushrooms and what my basic setup is. So here is my still air box. This is where I would perform anything hands-on when it comes to inoculating the grains or transferring grains over to a bulk substrate. It's just a area where I can work with my hands where there's not going to be a lot of airflow to bring spores in or out of the box. And then this is my fruiting tent. This is where I put the mycelium when I want to get it to fruit. It is a mess inside. I haven't grown mushrooms in a while. I have some seedlings in here though. Yeah, so I got some sage going, some rosemary, some basil that's going fucking crazy. Yeah, then some containers that I typically grow mushrooms in, my heater, a humidifier. And yeah, so in future videos I'm gonna go into every individual thing that I use to grow mushrooms, including like my sensors that I have here. I have another sensor over here. And once you get your sensors figured out, like, it's a pretty easy process to kind of just let it do its own thing. But yep, future videos I'll explain more. Take care. Okay, let's talk about some of the cleaning products I use for mushroom growing and clean procedures and devices. So, like I said previously, and every other type of fungus out there is going to want to grow in your growing mediums. So you want to be isolating everything to just your mushrooms. And in order to do so, you must be very clean. Carpet is fucking disgusting and filled with spores and nonsense. So I put down a tarp. So now anytime that I grow mushrooms, I can just spray it all down with this disinfectant. Come in here and spray down the insides of my tent and not have to worry about like discoloring the carpet or anything. So that's worked really well for me. You're gonna want to build one of these, a still air box. Like I said before, you will have less airflow because of the smaller holes, and that'll make it where you're less likely to get any contaminants into your growing mediums. The first step of growing mushrooms with North Spore bags is pretty easy not to contaminate. Like you can see there's a syringe there, you just poke it into the bag. You do want to flame sterilize your needle, but that's about it. I still do it in my still air box just to follow good procedure. Once I'm growing mushrooms in here, I have to move these plants out because the soil is a crazy source of different fungus and spores, so definitely want to get that out. Everything will be cleaned and wiped down with either hydrogen peroxide, stericide, or rubbing alcohol. You want to use 70% rubbing alcohol, as it doesn't evaporate quite as quickly, so it will stay there behind and kill germs for longer. This stuff works really well. It's expensive. I think you should just buy rubbing alcohol because it's cheaper. I just got this because Lowe's didn't have any. And yeah, that's pretty much it for keeping things clean, other than flame sterilizing needles or blades, anything you use like that. Wipe everything down with rubbing alcohol. You can never use enough. Wear a mask while spraying a lot of rubbing alcohol, just because the smell gets to you really quickly and can burn your eyes. So exercise caution. Time for a more in-depth view for some of the components that I use. So this is a Mylar grow tent that I got off of eBay for about $100. Having something like this is awesome because you can regulate your growing environment much more. I keep a heater and a humidifier inside of this, and because it's such a small enclosed space, I only have to run each only a fraction of the time that I would have to if I had it in a like larger space. So it helps with that. I have lights in there. The mylar reflects the light really well, which can help the mushrooms grow. I'm going to show you the two types of sensors that I use. Over here we have a Inkbird brand humidity sensor. So this would be plugged into your ordinary wall socket, and then this plug that you that comes off of the device is where you would plug your humidifier into. And then on the screen here you would set the humidity high and the humidity low, so it knows to stop the humidifier over a certain level and knows to start it at a certain level. And then off of the device is a probe that trails into the inside of my tent. Let's see if I can pull it out. So this is the actual sensor itself, which tells the device the humidity of the inside. And then very similar on this side, I have my temperature sensor. This one is basically the same. You just plug it into your normal outlet, and then a sensor goes inside, which is hanging down there, you can see, and that will power the heater right there. And once it gets hot enough inside, it'll automatically shut it off. Okay, we have the basic life cycle of the mushroom here. So you start out with spores, which are the microscopic little pieces that the mushroom drops that grow into mycelium, which then produce mushrooms, which drop more spores. Okay, so we have some more illustrations here of the life cycle. So here's a fully grown mushroom that has matured and dropped its spores, which are blown around in the wind. And if they happen to fall into a naturally occurring pile of shit somewhere, the spores will grow into mycelium, and that mycelium will continue to grow throughout the medium as long as it has nutrients and there are no contaminants that it has to fight for, because any other fungus is going to try to grow in the same medium that the mushrooms are, just because that's how fungus works. If there's nutrients and proper growing conditions and some of the spores get in, it'll start to grow. That's why you have to make sure everything is extremely clean at all times to avoid contamination. So after the mycelium has grown throughout the medium, it will look like it's covered in like cobwebs almost, like these little tiny white arms reaching across the entire substrate. That's when you know that you want to induce fruiting conditions. So you would be changing the temperature and the humidity and light, which I'll get into later. But you'll start to see little mushrooms pin from the pile of mycelium. And then once the mushrooms are fully grown, you want to pick them before they actually open up and release spores, because the amount of nutrients will quickly degrade in them after that point. So you just want to go ahead and pick them right when they're fresh. And then you got mushrooms and you're a happy person. Okay, so now inside my grow tent I have a couple of grain bags that I've inoculated in this cardboard box. I'm keeping them in there just to keep them in the dark so they grow a little bit faster. Then I have a thermometer here. I'm definitely going to want to use my heater in this tent right now because I want to keep the grain bags between 75 and 80 degrees just to help them grow quickly. So I'm going to be setting up my heater and my temperature sensor in a little bit. So our spore syringe comes with this little needle cap that you put on. So first you take the cap off of the syringe itself, twists off, then we'll go ahead and open this. There we go. That's good to go. And this is resealable. Just pop that right back on. Then you can keep it. Here is our spore syringe. There is sterile water in here, or rather, not sterile, distilled water in here, pure water. And then there is cremini mushroom spores in there as well. So before I use this, I gotta shake it up really good to knock the spores throughout the solution. I'm gonna unbox one of these grain bags so that you can see it. They're from northspore.com. They're a bag of highly nutritious grains that the spores will grow on. So yeah, when you first get it, you want to inspect it, make sure you don't see anything growing inside of it already. Because just like it says on the box, these are already sterilized, so should be completely clean and ready to go. At the top of the bag, there's this polypore tape or something. It's a breathable fabric that allows some gas exchange. Then at the bottom, a self-healing injection port. Okay, I'm gonna start inoculation. So I'm doing 2 bags right now. So I have both injection ports facing up. Then I'm going to clean the ports with some hydrogen peroxide. You can also use rubbing alcohol. Just be careful if you're using anything flammable that you do not ignite the substance while using a lighter to flame sterilize needles or blades. Then just give the injection port a good wipe down. Then you want to grab your needle. I don't know if you saw that. There we go, rubbing that down. And then go ahead and flame sterilize your needle. I usually give it about 10 seconds. And then wait about 20 seconds just to cool down. Always remember to give it a good shake. And then I'm going to go ahead and poke it through. Now you want to give it between 2 and 3 cc's. I usually overshoot a little bit, then pull that out and it will seal itself. That one's good to go. Then same thing on this one. Some hydrogen peroxide. Give it a good rub down. Make sure it's good and clean. Flame sterilize needle once more. Give that a few seconds to cool. Yeah, so once you've inoculated these, you should start to see growth within like 2 weeks, which it will start looking like little, not cobwebs, but like little fluffy growth in the grains, and then it will slowly spread across the bag. Okay, we'll give it 3 cc's. There we go. All set. Now I'm just going to put them in the cardboard box with my other grow bags and wait a couple of weeks. Then I'll show you my progress.